typical scene in Hunter Street, the business heart of Newcastle. Blessed with a temperate climate and plenty of good Australian sun, Novocastrians make the most of it. There's incentive and a future here.
Every person has a dream, particularly young people, and a wish. And my wish and dream from within my soul, if you like, was to be out in the bush. You know, I had a billy can boiling in suburban Balmain in the middle of Sydney, and a tent set up and a mattress on the ground, you know. It was just within me. To land in the place of your dreams, you know, and 1.3 million acres of beautiful bush and great people. It was a dream come true. It was a wish granted. Well, I was born 54. I had an older sister and a younger brother, and normal life, you know, housing commission house in the little suburb of Newcastle. But my parents split up when I was 3 years old, and it sort of led to a bit of an unsettled number of years. The decision to place my brother and I in the Catholic orphanage obviously didn't come easy to a mother who was a real mother. But you know, when the chips are down, you got to do what you got to do. So I can remember clearly still my younger brother and I being in a place that I look back at it seemed like a courthouse, you know, with the wooden banisters and things like that, and we were left to wait in a room, and my mother went in to talk to some officials and came out crying. And it's again that illustrates that it wasn't an easy decision for her to make. And it was no picnic in there, but it's a feeling I've had in my life, and I'm sure others share this, where your sort of emotional tank runs dry. You've got nowhere to go. So you don't know what to feel, so you just feel nothing. It's a blank. You're out of emotion, and I'm sure I see it on the news every night. There are people all over this world in way worse situations than I've ever been in, and I can see that look of what I call the empties in their eye. There's nothing left. There's nowhere to go, nothing to feel. At some stage after we were taken out of the orphanage and we lived a little while longer with my nana, Mum began seeing Les, who became my stepfather. Any person, any kid or adult that's been through that, seen that cycle of domestic violence and alcoholism, very ugly sometimes. It was real violence, and I remember one time Mum grabbed a knife and stabbed Les in the leg. It got to that stage. Knives and blood aren't good things for young people to see. But I'd have to say that the violence was targeted only to themselves, only at each other. It came a day that they thought enough is enough, and I just have to give them full marks for that. They decided that let's go and make a fresh start in Western Australia, other side of the country. We sort of went up through to Mount Magnet, Dalwellyn, and all those places, camping along, looking for work, not finding it, you know. So we got as far as Carnarvon and camped out in the bush, a few k's out of Carnarvon, and it was all positive, you know. Like, right, you're trapping rabbits, and you're getting the wood, you know, and you're setting up the tent, and everyone's doing their bit. Bloody gypsies, I tell you. But yeah, happy as, mate, and I wasn't going to school. How good was that? I'm in the bush, and you know, there's hope going forward. We're going to end up somewhere. And we came out to Bidgymire on spec, total speculation. Sandy put us on there and then, you know, he wanted an out camper and he wanted some blokes working around the station. Here's this skinny little bloody kid from the middle of the city coming out here with a lot to learn, a lot to learn. Could have bought and sold me, as they say, 1,000 times over. And whatever Rick Sullivan is now, he got his grounding here. huge part of my life began to build here. I'll always be grateful to Mum for making what she told me years later was a very hard decision to leave me by myself virtually, but with very good people. And as a mother, it came very hard for her to leave me behind like that, but she knew I was in good hands, and she was right. It was one of the best things that has ever happened to me in my life. Mentors, you call them mentors, and they were friends and great examples to follow, you know, just this is what a good man is. In different ways, they were hard, but it tempers you, you know, that sort of thing. You're resilient, you know. I can put up with a bit of push and shove and stuff like that, but they teach you to get on with the job. But you can also feel, I don't know if you'd call it the softness in them, but you can feel, yeah, that warmth, you know. Men often shy away from the warmth, and that's a mistake, you know. My best friends, two of them are here now, you know, you talk like brothers, or, you know, it gives a bugger if you pat each other on the back. You might even hug someone, you know. That's part of life. You need that as a man. Righto, let him up, you know. Slacken off the head rope, get rid of that. Slacken off the front leg, take off the back leg. Let him up! And the first thing you do when I say let him up is get up here in case he wanted to piece you, and bloody 9 times out of 10, whoa, straight up! Not that quick now! I think I left my testicles on the fence. One of the greatest things about this trip has been able to bring two of my best mates, Bevan and Noel, with me back here after 50 years, and sharing it with these two jokers is pretty damn special. I said you.
I said nothing.
You're the
You
bloody
said
poet. Hopefully that brand is hot enough.
Do you want to brand my thing while
Yeah,
it's hot?
out with your thing, Noel.
No, you bring it up. Oh, yes.
How's that?
Look at
do
me.
ya? That do ya?
Thank you, Ricky.
You've been
Cheers,
branded.
mate. Hey.
There you go.
Cheers, man. Good man.
I used to work with him in Moora at the Department of Ag, and he was with the APB. So I've known him for about 30 years, and then, I suppose it was about March, he proposed this idea if we get on our bikes and get up here and spend some time trudging over the country that he worked as a young bloke. So this would be a $35 meal if you're in a restaurant.
Yeah, I'll take F, boss.
50 years since Rick's been here, which just shows how old he really is. It's good to see that. And times change. And people, what the societal expectations are changes. And what he was doing as a kid, you know, a lot of people would never do now.
I was saying to Rick before we came on this trek, I said, you won't recognise anything, Rick, but I've been really surprised how he's found his way around. And riding the motorbike, I didn't think he'd achieve it, but he's done probably 450 Ks on that bike over the last 3 days, and look at him, he's still running around out there now, so no, just amazing. He appreciates every little thing he's got. I mean, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. My dad had a farm, so life was pretty easy for me. But to see what Rick's done and achieve it, and his life values are just quite amazing. And he's always smiling.
He's 60-something years old, he still gets out and does it, so it's important that people keep active. As you get older, you realise quality time left. And he's going for it, so good on him.
Here I am, 50 years later, coming back down those same bush tracks, riding across those same rivers, churning up the dust and just looking around at cattle and these beautiful ghost gums on the riverbank, and oh man, here I am 50 years later doing the same thing, same but different.
He's a good bloke and a very genuine fella, and so, you know, he can get on the phone. We might not have spoken to each other for months, and the first thing I get is this message from Rick: "What are you doing, you mongrel?" Yeah. We pull the piss out of each other, and it works well.
I'm a 64-year-old man, you know, but I'll tell you the honest truth, I've had a bit of a cry sometimes, and I think we need to, you know, lean on someone and be leaned on, you know. You don't want to be a lonely person, you know, you don't want to get the empties. You do not want to be one of those people with that feeling I call the empties. So emotional tanks empty. What do I feel? I feel nothing. And having good friends around you keeps your tank topped up, mate. It's a wonderful thing. The older you get, the more important you think, and I can certainly, speaking as a man and a father, the older you get, the more important friends are to you. Yeah, they support you, you support them. It's extremely important, extremely important. I reckon I found my soul out there in the red dirt with my beautiful mum's consent. I'd left home at 15 and spent 7 years on those stations in the northwest, just working with the best kind of people. I learned a lot about the bush and horses and stock, but other important things as well, you know, like when opportunities come up, you grab them by the scruff of the neck. And when things get a bit rough, you've just got to lace the boots up a bit tighter and walk on, you know. And the good friends are gold. Life owes me nothing, but I owe the bush plenty, I reckon.